welcome. Today is Valentine's Day, at least today when I'm filming this. And so I have created a card. My husband and I don't really do cards anymore. We'll write notes or something like that. But I decided to make him a little piece of art for Valentine's. So I cut a couple hearts out on my Cricut, and I did that just on cardstock. And I am taking a couple jelly prints, and the jelly prints are going to be the base to my piece. One jelly print is for the big heart, and I'm using a different jelly print, similar but different, for the smaller heart. I'm adding some ink to the edges so that it kind of rounds them out and distresses them a bit. And I'm just going to add some stuff on top. So I've gone through some of my stuff, and I'm just kind of getting some things together that I might want to use. I do like using circles on things, so one of those will definitely enter into the final product. And I'm putting some ink on the edges of the things that I might possibly use. I've pulled out some paper strips there. They're Tim Holtz paper strips, and I don't think I actually use any of them. I like them, but I just didn't pull any out for this, or I didn't use any of them. So that was my second jelly print that I'm going to use, and the second heart is kind of a tilted heart. And I just thought that was kind of nice. It gives a couple different heart shapes there. And I've cut that out. So those are the two hearts that I'm going to use. And one's just light enough, I think, that you can see it on top of the other. This piece is a piece of collage strip, and it's a little too wide to use it as a full, well, it's cut from a strip, but even that cut was a little too wide. So I trimmed it down a little bit. I'm going to stamp a little bit on it. And I'm just taking this date stamp and that's from Tim Holtz Eccentric, and I'm using, what was that? I think it was potting soil. And I'm taking some thick scissors and I'm just roughing up the edges so it's not like a perfectly straight line, even though most of it gets covered up. And then I'm going to ink that white edge. And I get rid of the straight edge on the end. The other one will be tucked underneath that heart, so it won't matter. And I have this flashcard from Tim Holtz, and I was thinking of using it for just like a sign on it. And it was too big, so I cut it way down. And I also did a little sanding on it to get any of the shine off. It's from the layers. It's a layers one, so it's got a glossy finish. And I also punched all the corners so that they were rounded, and then added some vintage photo to it. This piece is from, I think, the Memoir Ephemera collection. I do end up using it about in that spot, but that XO doesn't go there. I also have these scraps of rulers that I used on a different project. I thought I would stick it on there. And so I prep it just in case, but I actually don't end up using that. And this piece, I think, is from Field Notes, possibly. I have quite a few ephemera packs, so sometimes I don't remember, and sometimes they get mixed up. This is another piece from the Collage Strips. And I'm gonna stamp on it. There's a stamp from the Eccentric that says perfection, and I'm gonna stamp that. So I'm going to start laying some things down. This is just a scrap of scrapbook paper that looks like music sheet, and just tucking that underneath there. And I'm using a scrap of vintage washi tape. Just kind of making a background. This is a piece from Tim Holtz number strips, and I used liquid glue on that because it's a little heavier than some of the other paper. And I left a little corner sticking off the heart there, just to kind of give it a little bit of interest. So I kind of want to work on the second heart before I start collaging on and around that heart. And I'm going to be using this Glorious Garden stamp and some an embossing stamp. And I'm going to emboss just like half of the stamp. I debated which color. I could have used brown. I think that would have looked nice because I have a vintage photo. Embossing glaze. Black would have looked nice. But I end up deciding and going for kitsch flamingo. And I get my embossing gun out and melt that up. You can see the shine on it. And I'm also going to stamp on the left side of it. I got a free stamp collection from, I think it might have been Ranger for, I don't know, it was around Good Friday, Black Friday. And so I got a free thing. Oh, actually, it was like a surprise box. You didn't know what you're getting. And this was one of the things in it. It was the little birds, from Dina Wakley, little birds stamps. And on that, there's these little tiny stamps, and a couple of them, one of them says love. So I'm just stamping that on there. You might have saw a little corner of that stamp set there. And this little brown piece, it's just a piece of scrapbook paper I had laying around. And so I just did a small circle punch, and I do use that. Another little tiny piece of the music sheet. And time to glue down the heart, the second heart. I wanted to make sure the point of the second heart was on top of the other heart, just so it didn't get caught up in anything and bent up or anything. So I'm using that Call Collect piece, and I'm going to try to tuck it underneath that Perfection piece just a tad, just so you can't see the edge, and then have it come over top the heart, the smaller heart. That's where the altered flashcard's going. One more piece I'm adding. It's not that. It's not that. It's that. Again, I think this is from, it's either Snippets or Field Notes. Might be Snippets. So I've only got one more thing I'm going to do. So you can see where my one piece kind of came off the heart. I have this punch that just punches a real tiny little hole. And so I'm going to hang a dangle on the heart. So I'm putting the first one on, and then I just, in my stash of all my stuff, I had this little bead that looked the shape of a heart. It's clear, and I'm just putting that on another jump ring and closing it up, and then I'll slide it on the larger jump ring. And close that up. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed watching. I got some final pictures coming up. If you have not subscribed, please do. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. Y'all have a great day. And my pictures are coming up pretty quick.